you're using an Android, you're connected to a data center. Okay. If you are using Google, you're probably using AI because it leverages Gemini, Amazon, smart shopping. You're connected to a data center. You're using AI. So it's kind of like this. You want to protest against the carbon footprint. That's great. I don't have any problem with that. But stop flying the private jet around. Okay. And so, and without getting too much into it, my whole point was we have to basically do this responsibly. It's coming. It's here. There's like 2,400 megawatt data centers scheduled to be built in the United States between 2026 and 2028 to the tune of $2.5 trillion. It's coming. Question is, how do we manage it responsibly? And I think there are metrics out there that I've talked about that can be done. And I think that's the direction that we're moving in.
And I think and I've said this on several occasions. In case if you're just joining me right now, Craig Briggs is the executive director and founder of the AIT, which is Advanced Internet Technology. You've been here forever in a day. Former Army officer at station. Were you stationed at Bragg?
I was here at Bragg, yeah.
You're at Bragg and went to Ranger School back in '87 or something like that. So you got out of the military and you started dabbling in. I was a 25 Alpha. I was a combat communications officer.
You're a smart guy. I was 11B.
You're an infantry guy, ground pounder. Yeah. But you know what? You got out and you said, "Hey, we're going to start doing this thing here." And you've created some jobs and been operating a data center now for quite some time, unbeknownst to anyone in the community who didn't care.
Right.
Did anyone come knocking to your door in 2005 and say, "Hey, what's this in it?" What did you have?
No, actually, we ended up. I worked with the city council. I worked with county commissioners. They got together. We had multiple meetings, and we basically formulated an inducement agreement, like I just discussed. And that's what brought us downtown. They actually wanted us to move downtown, put in our basically web hosting and domain registration, software development operation, and our data center. And in fact, I had the building, it's grandfathered now I'm in now. I've got the actual agreement and contracts that we all signed to get us downtown. No, in fact, it was just the opposite. It was, yes, please come downtown. This internet thing is really taking off. Well, to an extent, the same thing can be said about the AI, but from a scale standpoint, I will say this: the AI is a little bit different animal, and it has to be handled carefully, deliberately, and responsibly. But there's no reason why we still can't move forward. We just have to do so with that in mind.
Well, I've heard stories where the AI is taken over in some instances. I was just shocked to hear some of the things that it just all of a sudden decided to do something on its own, and they had to reel it back in.
Yeah,
and that we don't know which brand of AI that was that did that. But if you think about the applications for drones, warfighting, and you're right, it's coming, and these centers are going to be coming. Now, the mayor went up to Virginia. They had 293 data centers in this one community. And as he said, he walked around and some of the city council members went knocking on the doors of the residents, and it's a pretty affluent neighborhood. There weren't many complaints about it because I think some of the things were put in place the right way, and some of the folks who were making the presentation said, "We wish we would have done X, Y, and Z,
right,
so we wouldn't have as many."
Right.
What advice do you give, if any, to our leadership in the county and the city in terms of how do we prepare for this, and what type of things should we put in place?
I think they're doing exactly the right thing right now. They're doing their research. They're traveling. They're visiting places. Virginia actually used to be May East, which is a network access point. So Virginia got a very early start. So if you want to look at the cradle, so to speak, of the internet in the United States, Virginia isn't a bad place to go. What I would say is continue to do your homework, gather information, analyze that information, and then come up with, at the end of the day, SLAs. Data centers understand that language. Service level agreement. Those are hardcore contracts that hold data centers to specific standards. Let's just PUE, power utilization, effectiveness, how, I call it efficiency, but how much is the power that comes into your facility, and then what is the percentage that actually goes for useful compute. You can look at basically water usage efficiency. Everybody's concerned about water. These things can be managed with best practices. And I would say that those are the best practices that need to be implemented, decided upon, implemented, and then essentially put into an SLA or an agreement with the hyperscale large data centers that move in. And they basically need to become a party to that agreement. And what happens is there's penalties. If you don't achieve those metrics and those standards and you violate them somehow, then there are financial penalties. And these are for-profit companies. So they'll do the right thing if they're told what to do and it's legally binding.
All right, so there's a meeting today, and that's one of the reasons I want to get you in here. They're going to talk about they're not making any decisions about data centers. They are talking about the moratorium and the planning on what they're going to be able to do. It's the language of all that. That's what's going to happen today. But that place, it's going to be packed with folks with signs, no data centers. And I encourage folks to protest and do all the things that you do under our First Amendment, because that's what makes our country different. You can do that type stuff. But there are people out there, I don't care what Clarence Briggs says or what Gilbert Bay says or what Kirk DeVier or the mayor says, they are going to be against data centers, period. And there's not going to be any changing their minds, which is okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But the fact of the matter, as you said, they're coming, and we're either going to be involved with it, or these places that could generate a lot of capital for some of the areas are going to choose to go somewhere else. Is that
that's it? Yeah, I think the process is somewhat competitive. I think that the window of opportunity is here. I think we need to avail ourselves of it. Like I said, too fast, we mess up. Too slow, we miss the opportunity. The people that are against it, they're against it. I got it. And a lot of that uncertainty has to do with just not understanding what types of things can be put in place. And I think that's why, the whole process needs to be as transparent as possible so that people can get an understanding, wrap their head around what's really going on. Because when you've got doubt and uncertainty, you got fear, and you know what happens when you got fear, you get anger. That's right. People protest. So I think that, it is what it is. And still think I applaud the city council and the county commissioners. I think they're doing the best they can in a very uncertain time, with basically uncertain technology. And you're right, the AI, I don't know if it's conscious or not, Gilbert. I'm going to tell you right now, it's
scary.
It's some of the things I've seen. I mean, we're programming the MD files. We're telling it what its left and right limits are, what its personality is, what it can do, what it can't do. And I'm amazed that we're able to do this now. It's stunning.
Are you going to be at the meeting tonight?
I may be. I may float across the street.
Okay. All right. Well, look, Clarence Briggs, again, the founder, creator of AIT, CEO, and all those titles associated, but most importantly, a Ranger buddy. We appreciate your service. Thank you so much for what you do in the military and now what you're doing in this community. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Rangers lead the way.
All right. Well, all right, look, you're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC. Right now, we've got Fayetteville's most dependable forecast with CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsing.
Today will be partly cloudy with an isolated afternoon thunderstorm and a high of 96. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 73, and Tuesday will be partly cloudy with a few more afternoon storms and a high of 97. The hot and humid weather will continue this week with a spotty storm possible nearly every day. By Friday, a cold front arrives and temperatures will fall to near normal for the weekend. That is your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsing.
All right, Rachel, thank you. 75 right now in Fayetteville, Hope Mills, and also in Maxton. You're listening to News Talk